At the reunion banquet, the fake heiress cried and threatened to kill herself. The entire family surrounded her, comforting her, as if she were the one who had endured a life of hardship and suffering since childhood. So I slammed my head into the main door. Sister, don't make it difficult for Mom and Dad. Let me die instead. This collision was earth-shattering. It left the Fang family utterly humiliated and sparked widespread gossip among outsiders. Fang Yi's reputation was also ruined. Rumor has it that the fake heiress is trying to drive the real heiress to her death. Little thing, trying to outdo me in ruthlessness and tactics. I've fought street dogs for food and risked my life against human traffickers, even willing to give up my life. What about you? I stood speechless in the middle of the banquet hall. On the sofa across from me, the fake heiress Fang Yi, who had usurped the position for 18 years, had been crying for over 10 minutes. It's all my fault that my sister was forced to grow up away from home, unable to reunite with our family, Fang Yi sobbed, her shoulders trembling lightly. Now that my sister is back, I really don't feel right staying in the Fang family anymore. Just let me die. In her hand, she clutched a small white bottle. My biological mother was holding her, softly comforting her. Silly child, what nonsense are you talking about? You'll always be my daughter. Fang Fu sat to the side, his brows slightly furrowed. The room was filled with whispers from the guests, their complex gazes scrutinizing me. I knew what they were thinking, nothing more than finding me, the true heiress, unsophisticated, lacking even a fraction of the elegance of the fake one. Sister must have suffered a lot, Fang Yi said, looking at me with teary eyes, her sincerity so genuine it made me sick. It's all because I took your place. I deserve to die. She pretended to twist the bottle cap. Don't do anything foolish, Fang's mother exclaimed, and several relatives rushed over. The scene immediately descended into chaos. Consoling murmurs, sobs, and sighs mingled together. No one noticed me, no one asked how I had spent the past 18 years. It seemed as though I was the intruder. I quietly watched the drama unfold, a churning sensation in my stomach, not from disgust, but from hunger. I've only had a bowl of instant noodles since yesterday. Fang Yi was still sobbing. I have no face to see my sister again. I'll leave now. I'll leave the Fang family. Father finally spoke, his voice authoritative. Don't say such things. You and Nian Nian are both daughters of the Fang family. Fang Nian, that's the name they gave me, without even asking if I wanted to be called that. In the crowd, Fang Yi managed to calm down with the comfort of those around her, leaning against her mother's embrace. Her eyes were swollen red, looking utterly pitiful. Someone handed her water, someone wiped away her tears. Suddenly, Fang Yi's gaze pierced through the gaps in the crowd and landed on me, her eyes flickering rapidly for a moment. Provocation, she's provoking me. I take a deep breath, and the hunger in my stomach suddenly transforms into a familiar clarity. This clarity has saved me many times, when I was scavenging for food with stray dogs in the garbage dump, when I was shivering from the cold under a bridge in winter, when I was pretending to be obedient in the hands of human traffickers, waiting for a chance to escape. I took a step back. Dad, Mom, I began, my voice not loud but clear enough. Sister is right. Mother Fang was stunned, and Father Fang looked at me. Fang Yi's eyes gleamed with a hint of triumph. I continued to retreat, backing up until I reached the massive carved wooden door of the grand hall. I suffered a lot after being switched by bad people as a child. I went hungry, wore tattered clothes, slept under bridges in winter, and was covered in mosquito bites in summer. The guests quieted down. Now that I've finally returned home, seeing how close my parents and sister are, I'm so happy, I began, my voice trembling. But it seems my return has brought unrest to the family. Nian Nian, don't overthink it, my father tried to say. I interrupted him. Dad, I know my sister is a good person, and she didn't mean for this to happen, although she lived my life for 18 years, enjoying wealth and luxury. I'm sure she's suffered deeply in her heart too. Fang Yi's expression subtly changed. Although she doesn't carry the Fang family's blood, the 18 years of affection between you two are real. I raised my voice, tears rolling down at just the right moment. I know she can't bear any grievance, but it's fine. After all, someone like me with a lowly life doesn't deserve to compete with my sister for anything. Nian Nian, how can you talk about yourself like that? Fang's mother finally let go of Fang Yi and stood up. This is it. With all my strength, I rammed into the mahogany door. In the instant my forehead exploded with pain. I heard screams erupt all around. Warm blood trickled down my brow, blinding my left eye. I slid to the ground, using the last of my strength to look up at Fang Yi. Sister, don't make it hard for mom and dad. I'll just die, that's all. The world spun around me, but I clearly heard Fang's mother's collapsing cries. Fang's father's angry shout, the guests exclaim in surprise, and the frantic clicking of the reporters' cameras. Yes, the reporters, the Fang family, in order to showcase the joy of finding me, the true heiress, also invited quite a few media outlets. How thoughtful. Call an ambulance, quickly, call an ambulance. Oh my God, she's bleeding, so much blood, move aside, everyone, move aside. In the chaos, I felt someone pick me up. It was Father Fang, his arms were trembling. I slightly opened my right eye, peering through the smeared blood to see Fang Yi standing pale-faced in place. The bottle of sleeping pills in her hand had also fallen to the ground. Her lips trembled, wanting to say something but unable to make a sound. The gazes of the surrounding guests had already changed. From sympathy, it turned into suspicion, scrutiny, and even disgust. I weakly closed my eyes, the corners of my mouth barely curving upward. Nice try, trying to play the victim card with me. When I was fighting for my life with knife-wielding thugs in the alley, you were still learning flower arrangement etiquette. I truly dare to die. Do you dare? The ambulance siren grows louder as it approaches. When I was being lifted onto the stretcher, I heard a reporter shouting a question from the outer edge of the crowd. Mr. Fang, did Miss Fang Yan take extreme actions because of Miss Fang Yi's words and deeds? Does this imply that the Fang family is forcing the true heiress into such situations? Fang Fu did not answer, but I heard Fang Mu's sharp voice. No, it was Nian Nian who was careless enough to run into the door. Another reporter pressed, but we all saw her do it on purpose. Mrs. Fang, do you favor the adopted daughter over your own biological daughter? The scene was utter chaos. This was exactly what I wanted. The smell of hospital disinfectant filled my nostrils. I felt the needle pierce my skin and heard the rapid exchange between the doctor and nurses. Laceration on the forehead, requires stitches, possible mild concussion, schedule a CT scan, family members, please wait outside. The operating room door closed, cutting off all sounds. I was wheeled into the ward for observation after the stitches were done. The door opened. Father Fang and Mother Fang entered one after the other. Nian Nian, Mother Fang sat down by the bed, hesitating before reaching for my hand. Does it still hurt? I shook my head and remained silent. Today's incident was due to your parents' lack of consideration. My father began. We shouldn't have put you in that situation, causing you to feel wronged, still avoiding the main issue. What about my sister? I asked. The two exchanged glances. Yi's emotions are a bit unstable, so she's resting at home, Mrs. Fang said, her eyes avoiding mine. She's also very remorseful and has been crying non-stop. Is that so? I said softly. Then let sister rest well. I'm fine. Mrs. Fang seemed to relax. Nian Nian is so understanding. I've heard this word countless times. The aunties at the welfare home said it. The adoptive families said it. And even the old grandmother I wandered the streets with said it. Nian Nian is understanding, so she gives the bread to her younger brother to eat. Nian Nian is well behaved, so she can sleep on the sofa. Nian Nian is well behaved, so she doesn't fight back when bullied. Being well behaved is essentially being willing to suffer losses. I've long understood that. The doctor said you need to be hospitalized for observation for 2 days, Fang Fu said. We'll take care of the leave from school. After you're discharged, we'll arrange for your transfer. Okay. They sat for a while longer, exchanging some trivial words, and then left. The room fell completely silent after the door closed. I picked up my phone from the nightstand and opened the social media app. Indeed, hashtag the Fang family reunion banquet bloodbath hashtag had already made it to the local trending topics. The on-site video was captured clearly. Fang Yi was sobbing, threatening to take her own life, with everyone gathered around comforting her, while I stood alone on the sidelines. Then came the scene where I rammed into the door, blood splattering everywhere, a horrifying sight. Comments were flooding in at an alarming rate. Holy crap, she really rammed into the door. How desperate must she be? The fake heiress sure knows how to put on a show. The real heiress has it worse. Okay, this is what drove her to ram the door. Looking at the fake heiress's expression, she's the epitome of a white lotus. The Fang parents are so biased. They're comforting the adopted daughter while their real daughter is in such a state. I heard the real heiress had a miserable life before, and even after being found, she was driven to her death. The wealthy families are truly terrifying. I slowly scrolled through one highly liked comment after another. Public opinion is brewing, heading in the direction I anticipated. But it's not enough. I opened the front-facing camera and took a photo of myself. In the photo, my face is as pale as paper, my forehead wrapped in thick gauze, and my left eye swollen and bruised. Warm caption sent. Thank you all for your concern. I'm really fine. My sister didn't mean it. She just loves our parents too much. I'm already very happy to be home. Please don't blame anyone. 1 minute later, the comments exploded. You're way too kind, little sister. I'm so mad. Still defending the fake heiress at a time like this. Hugs for the sister. You must take care of yourself from now on. Fang Yi, come out and apologize. I watched the comments scrolling rapidly on the screen and then turned off the screen, playing these petty tricks. I've never lost before. Fang Yi is just acting in a domestic drama, but I'm acting in a survival drama. The first rule of surviving in a wealthy family is simple. Either win or die. I can't afford to lose, nor can I afford to lose. I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. During those 3 days, the Fang parents visited every day, each time staying for less than half an hour. Mrs. Fang always mentioned Fang Yi unconsciously. Yi hasn't been able to eat these past 2 days. Yi is also very worried about you. Yi personally cooked soup for you, but the doctor said you can't have anything nourishing for now. I've heard this same old story so many times that my ears are practically numb, yet, I still responded obediently. Finally, the doctor announced that I could be discharged. Madame Fang came with the driver to take me back to the Fang residence. As soon as the car entered the villa, I saw Fang Yi running out of the house, still wearing that pitiful, innocent white lotus demeanor. Nian Nian. She rushed over to hug me, but stopped a step away, her eyes timidly glancing at the bandage on my forehead. Does it still hurt? It's fine, it's all my fault. She burst into tears. If I hadn't said the wrong thing that day, you wouldn't have. Sister, don't say that, I interrupted her. It was my own carelessness. Fang's mother walked over. All right, it's all in the past. Let's go inside. Nian Nian needs to rest. I followed behind them as we entered the villa. This was my first time at the Fang family home, and while it was vast, it exuded a cold, lifeless atmosphere. It lacked the warmth of human presence. Your room is on the 2nd floor. Fang Yi took the initiative to lead the way. I helped arrange it for you. I don't know if you'll like it. The room faced south, spacious and bright, yet it was drowned in a sea of light pink wallpaper, pink furniture, and even the 4-piece bedding set on the bed was pink. It was arranged so well. No need to set up next time. Do you like it? Fang Yi looked at me expectantly. I like it. Thank you, sister. Then you rest first. I'll call you for dinner. She turned to leave. Then looked back at the door. Oh, by the way, Mom and Dad are attending a charity gala tonight. They might not be back for dinner. It'll just be the 2 of us. We can have a good chat. The door closed softly. I walked to the window and pushed it open. The villa area was very quiet, with only the sound of birds and the faint hum of distant cars. In the garden below, a gardener was trimming the lawn. Observing the environment is my instinct. I opened the door and walked out. The 2nd floor corridor was long, with 4 rooms on each side. I memorized the locations of the master bedroom, the study, and Fang Yi's room before heading downstairs. The nanny was preparing dinner in the kitchen. She paused for a moment when she saw me, then gave a professional smile. Miss Nian Nian, is there anything you need? I'm just checking. What's for dinner tonight? Miss Yi specially ordered steamed sea bass, blanched Chinese cabbage, spare ribs and yam soup, and stewed milk with bird's nest. Do you have rice? I asked. The nanny was taken aback again. Yes, but Miss Yi said you just got out of the hospital, so it's better to have soup and vegetables. Rice is hard to digest. I nodded and turned to leave the kitchen. Fang Yi was reading a magazine on the living room sofa, seeing me. She closed the magazine. Why aren't you resting? Can't sleep, I said, sitting down in the single sofa across from her. What are you reading? A fashion magazine, she said, turning the cover towards me. But you probably don't understand that. How about we go shopping for clothes this weekend? Mom gave us a card. No need. The clothes in the wardrobe are enough. How can that be enough? Fang Yi said with a sickly sweet smile. Those are all basic styles. There's a banquet at the Wang's this weekend, and we're all expected to attend. We need to prepare formal gowns. I looked at her. She knew I had just returned from living on the streets and wasn't familiar with the etiquette of such occasions, so she was setting a trap for me. If I refuse, It would seem ungrateful, but if I accept, my ignorance and poverty will be exposed during the shopping trip. All right, I agreed. Dinner time came, and indeed, there were only the two of us. The long dining table could seat 12, and we sat at opposite ends, separated by a vast distance. Dishes were brought out one by one, exquisite but in extremely small portions. My bowl contained only half a bowl of soup. Auntie Wang served Nian a bowl of rice. Fang Yi suddenly said. The nanny hesitated for a moment. But Miss Yi, you just said, I just forgot that Nian is still growing. Fang Yi looked at me apologetically. I'm sorry, Nian, I was thinking about my own appetite. We noble ladies usually don't eat starches at night to maintain our figures, but you need the nutrients. Her words sounded nice, but the intent was to put me in my place. I thought she expected me to rise to her challenge, to puff myself up and pretend I could keep up with her when it came to managing my figure. As if, I handed the bowl to Auntie Wang. Fill it up, all the way. I'm starving, with the delicious dishes. I polished off 3 bowls of rice in one go. It was truly delicious. Fang Yi's face turned green with envy. After setting down my chopsticks and bowl, I smiled at her. The truth will always be true, and what's false will never become real. Don't you agree, sister? Crazy, the Fang elders aren't here, so why should I put on a show of sisterly affection with her? I said what I had to and got up to go upstairs. The next morning, I was woken by a knock on the door. Fang Yi stood outside the door, already dressed and ready. Nian, after breakfast. We'll go to the school to handle the transfer procedures. At the dining table, Father Fang was reading the newspaper, while Mother Fang handed me a glass of milk. Nian, your father has arranged for you to attend a Ing Academy, the same school as Yi. Although you're joining as a transfer student, the principal agreed. Considering our family's influence, I knew about this private elite school. Its annual tuition alone was enough to sustain an average family for 10 years. Thank you. Dad, we'll handle the paperwork today, and classes start next Monday. Fang Fu put down the newspaper. Yi, take good care of your sister. Don't worry, Dad. Fang Yi smiled brightly. On the way to school, Fang Yi kept talking. Sainting is really great. The teachers take good care of the students, and the classmates are very friendly, so you don't have to worry about not fitting in. Oh, and I told a few friends about you, and they're all eager to meet you. I remained silent. I'm the kind of person who trusts their gut instinct. While I disliked Fang Yi, I believed she disliked me equally. Flattery out of the blue is definitely either deceit or theft. The car stopped at the school gate. Ing Academy was even more extravagant than I had imagined. Inside the massive wrought iron gates lay sprawling lawns and European-style buildings. The students wore uniform attire, boys in suits, girls in blouses and plaid skirts. As soon as Fang Yi stepped out of the car, she was surrounded by a group of girls. Yi, is this your sister? Wow, you really don't look much like her. What happened to your forehead? Fang Yi linked her arm with mine and said, these are Lily, Xiaoya, and Yuan, my best friends. The 3 girls looked at me with curiosity, but also with an unmistakable scrutiny. I instantly understood. These were the reinforcements Fang Yi had brought in. Nian. The girl named Lily reached out. I heard you had a unique past. Yeah. I used to live on the streets, I said directly. The air froze for a moment. Fang Yi quickly smoothed things over. Nian has been through a lot, so we all need to take extra care of her. The paperwork went smoothly. The principal personally greeted me, exchanging some polite words, and then instructed the Dean of Academic Affairs to take me to collect my textbooks and uniform. Fang Yi said she had to go to class and asked her friends to keep me company, but as soon as she left, the smiles of the 3 girls faded. You grew up on the streets, right? Lily leaned closer to me. So, do you know how to steal? Lily, Xiaoya pulled her back, her eyes equally unfriendly. I picked up the stack of heavy textbooks. Stealing isn't my style, but I do know how to hit people. They froze. Just kidding, I said with a smile. Where are you sisters taking me? The next hour was a long process of touring the campus, getting familiar with the surroundings, and meeting my classmates. In reality, they had deliberately brought over a few boys to ask me some awkward questions. I played along the entire time, answering whatever they asked. Where did you live before? Under the bridge, abandoned buildings, sometimes the garage of a kind-hearted family. What do you eat? Scavenging from trash bins, or doing odd jobs for money. Done odd jobs before. What kind? Washing dishes, handing out flyers, moving bricks. With every question they asked, The disdain in their eyes grew deeper. I didn't care at all. Fortunately, they finally took me to the last stop, the rooftop of the school. This is the best spot for the view, Lily pointed outside the railing. From here, you can see the entire campus. I walked to the railing. The view here was indeed expansive, but the wind was strong, making it hard to stand steady. Nyen Nyen, be careful, Xiaoya said behind me. You just got out of the hospital, don't fall again. Before the words had even finished, I felt someone gently push against my waist from behind. It was light, but if I had truly been dizzy and unsteady on my feet, that single push would have been enough to send me over the railing. Unfortunately, I managed to stay upright, and at the same time, my left hand fished out my phone from my pocket, while my right hand swiftly grabbed the wrist that hadn't yet retracted. Click, the sound of the camera shutter and their startled exclamations rang out simultaneously. I turned around, holding my phone screen towards them, where a clear image showed Lily's hand pushing against my waist. Lily's face turned pale. What about me? I put my phone back in my pocket. I remember telling you earlier that I don't steal, but I do hit people. I smirked at the three of them. Before the others could react, I had already swung my arm in a wide arc and delivered a vicious slap to Lily. Blood spurted from her nose and mouth. But this was only the beginning. Next, I used my decade-plus of street fighting experience. I gave these three delicate flowers in a greenhouse a lesson in the experience of a storm. On the way back, the three of them were unusually quiet. In front of the teaching building, I stopped and said, "Oh, by the way, sisters." The three of them shivered. I continued to smile. I don't have many virtues, but I do have a good memory. I remember clearly who has been kind to me and who hasn't. And yes, I did come from the streets. The rule there is simple. If you stab me once, I'll stab you 10 times. But I'm sure you refined ladies wouldn't understand that. Let's get to class. Shall we? Goodbye. I turned and walked toward the administration office, leaving behind three girls with bruised faces and no words to express their misery. In the afternoon, Fang Yi came to find me to go home together. In the car, she asked with concern, "How are you getting along with Lily and the others?" "Pretty good. Your friends are very warm, and we're getting along quite well." Fang Yi carefully observed my expression, as if trying to find some clue, but eventually just smiled. "That's good. I thought you might have had some disagreement. Just now, when I went to find them, they weren't there. By the way, tomorrow is Saturday. Let's go shopping for a dress." Mom gave me the card. All right then. On Saturday morning, the Fang family's car dropped us off at the most upscale mall in the city center. Fang Yi clearly frequented the place, walking into a luxury boutique with ease. The shop assistant greeted her enthusiastically. "Miss Fang, welcome. What would you like to see today?" "Pick a dress for my sister, for the Wang family's banquet this weekend." Fang Yi pulled me along. "Nyen Nyen, what color do you like?" The price tags on the clothes in the store reminded me of the days when I used to haggle over the price of a bowl of noodles. "Black, I guess," I said. "Black is too dull." Fang Yi shook her head, taking down a pale yellow gauze dress from the rack. "This one is pretty and suits you." The dress was layered and looked like a cake. "Just try it." Fang Yi pushed me into the fitting room without a word. The dress was indeed hideous. The size was too small, squeezing me so tightly that it was hard to breathe. When I stepped out, Fang Yi and the shop assistant both had looks of amazement on their faces. "It's perfect." Fang Yi clapped her hands. "Nyen Nyen, let's go with this one." I looked at my ridiculous reflection in the mirror. "It's too tight. The dress should be tight to show off the figure." Fang Yi said, "Wrap it up." Just as the clerk was about to make out the bill, I spoke up. "Wait." I went back to the fitting room to change back into my own clothes, then came out holding the yellow dress and walked directly in front of Fang Yi. "Sister, you try it on first." Fang Yi was taken aback. "Me, exactly. If my sister says it looks good on her, it must look even better on you." I handed her the dress. "Go ahead, try it on." Fang Yi's expression subtly shifted, but with everyone watching, she could only take the dress. 5 minutes later, she emerged from the fitting room. The pale yellow made her skin look dull, and the layered design made her appear bulky. She was fuller figured than me, so the dress was even tighter on her, with the bulge around her waist faintly visible. The shop assistant maintained an awkward smile. Fang Yi stared at the mirror, her expression growing increasingly unpleasant. "It doesn't seem quite right for me. How could that be?" I said with complete sincerity. "You look so much better in it than I do. Let's get it wrapped up. If you wear this to the banquet, you'll definitely stun everyone." Fang Yi opened her mouth, probably about to refuse, but the words she just said were her own. In the end, she gritted her teeth and bought the hideous yellow dress. As she walked out of the store, her smile was barely holding on. Let's go take a look at accessories. She tried to turn the tide. Inside the jewelry store, Fang Yi headed straight to the diamond counter, pointing at a necklace. Nian Nian, this one suits you. The price tag showed a six-figure sum. It's too expensive, I said. It's okay, Mom gave me the card, Fang Yi told the clerk. Take it out for her to try on. The clerk put on gloves and retrieved the necklace. Fang Yi walked around to my back and helped me put it on, the cold diamond resting against my collarbone. So beautiful. Fang Yi exclaimed in admiration, then suddenly let out an "oh." The necklace snapped, and the diamonds scattered across the floor. The room fell silent. The clerk's face turned ashen. Fang Yi covered her mouth, panic-stricken. I'm so sorry. I might not have fastened it properly, miss. The shop assistant looked at the scattered diamonds on the floor, her voice trembling. We'll compensate, Fang Yi immediately said, then turned to me. Nian Nian, don't worry. The money Mom gave is enough. It's just, she hesitated, leaving her words unfinished. Just what? This way, the budget for buying a dress is gone. This way, I owe her a huge favor. This way, Madame Fang will know that I caused trouble as soon as I went out shopping. I looked at the scattered diamonds on the ground and then at the fleeting look of satisfaction in Fang Yi's eyes. Then I crouched down. 1, 2, 3. I picked up all the diamonds, placed them on the counter, and took the necklace tray from the clerk. Do you have any glue? I asked. The shop assistant handed over a bottle of special adhesive, her expression blank, under everyone's watchful eyes. I picked up the tweezers and began to glue the diamonds back into place. One by one, my hands were steady, my movements so practiced it was as if I had done this 1,000 times before. Fang Yi was stunned. Nian Nian, I used to work at a jewelry store before. I didn't even look up. I've done this many times. 5 minutes later, the necklace was restored to its original state, with almost no trace of damage. The shop assistant let out a long sigh of relief after inspecting it. That's great. Thank you so much. I handed the necklace back to her. Check it over. If there's any issue, we'll compensate. No problem at all. The clerk thanked her repeatedly. As they left the jewelry store, Fang Yi's face was as dark as a pot bottom. Where else would you like to go, sister? I asked. I'm tired. Let's go home. In the car, Fang Yi remained silent the entire way. Just before we arrived home, she suddenly said, Nian Nian, don't tell Mom and Dad about today's incident. The necklace broke and was repaired, and there's no need to worry them with it. Sure. I agreed readily. She seemed to relax. At dinner, Mrs. Fang inquired about the shopping. I bought a dress, Fang Yi said quickly. Nian Nian picked it out. It's quite special. Is that so? Nian Nian has good taste. Mrs. Fang smiled. I kept my head down and ate in silence. That night, as I lay in bed, I heard the sound of things being thrown in the next room. It was faint, but it didn't escape my ears. I opened my phone and saw on social media that the discussions about the Fang family's true and false heiresses were still ongoing. Screenshots from the student forum of Sainting Academy were dug up, showing anonymous posts mocking the new transfer student as a country bumpkin. Many had already refuted the claims below. The real heiress has experienced hardships. What do you pampered flowers know? I heard the fake heiress's friends are bullying the real heiress at school. Seeing is believing. The attached photo turned out to be from the rooftop yesterday, though blurry. It clearly shows a group of girls surrounding someone. Who took this angle? I frowned and carefully examined the poster's ID, Street Observer. I clicked into the ID's homepage, which was filled with street photography, photos of beggars, homeless people, and night market vendors. Caption, the dignity of survival. I stared at those photos for a long time before finally shutting off my phone. At least I can confirm that the person who posted this has no ill intentions towards me. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be this one photo. It seems that surviving in a wealthy family requires not only vigilance but also constant readiness. At 7 o'clock on Monday, my alarm woke me up. The gauze on my forehead has been removed, leaving a pink scar, like a centipede resting above my eyebrow. I tried to cover it with my bangs, but the effect was minimal. When I went downstairs, Fang Yi was already neatly dressed and seated at the dining table. Seeing me, she gave a standard smile. Good morning, Nian Nian. Did you sleep well? Not bad, I replied, sitting down across from her. I quietly ate my breakfast when I overheard Mrs. Fang telling Fang Yi, the Wang family's banquet has been postponed to tonight for some reason, you must come back early. Got it, Mom, Mrs. Fang nodded in satisfaction and then turned to me, Nian Nian, have the stylist do your hair tonight, don't be nervous, it's your first time attending such an event. Okay, mister. Fang put down the newspaper, Nian Nian, I've already spoken to the school. If you encounter any difficulties, feel free to contact your teachers or call home at any time. Thank you, Dad. It was still the same black car, Fang Yi and I sat side by side in the back seat, not exchanging a word the entire journey. She kept scrolling through her phone, her lips occasionally curling into a cold smile. I knew what she was looking at, definitely the student forum of St. Ing Academy. As soon as I arrived at school, strange gazes pierced through me like needles. Some whispered among themselves, others openly scrutinized, and a few even held up their phones to take sneaky photos. Don't pay attention to them. Fang Yi looped her arm through mine, her voice neither loud nor soft. Nian Nian, just focus on your studies, and leave everything else to your sister. What a considerate sister. If I didn't know the truth, I might have been moved by her. We arrived at the door of Class 3, Senior Year 2. The homeroom teacher was a middle-aged woman who looked at me with sympathy and a barely noticeable hint of disdain. Fang Nian, welcome, she introduced from the podium. I hope everyone will help the new student and integrate into the class as quickly as possible. Scattered applause echoed from the seats below. My seat was in the last row, right next to the trash can. The bell rang to signal the end of class. As soon as the teacher left the classroom, a group of people surrounded my seat. The leader of the group had a streak of yellow hair. New kid, pretty cocky, huh? Heard you've been hanging out on the streets. Must be pretty tough, right? Meet us at the gym after school, if you dare. Li Hao, Fang Yi squeezed in, don't bully Nian Nian. Sis Yi, I just wanted to chat with the new classmate. Li Hao said with a cheeky grin. What? Is your sister made of porcelain? Can't touch her. Fang Yi bit her lip, her eyes turning red. Nian Nian isn't well yet. Please, don't do this. The looks people gave me were all off. I closed the notebook and stood up. I was half a head shorter than Li Hao, but he instinctively took a step back. What time is it at the gym? Li Hao was taken aback. Not here to communicate. What time? After school. 5 o'clock. Okay, I sat back down. Can I go to the bathroom now? The crowd parted automatically. As soon as I stepped out of the classroom, I heard an uproar inside. Wow, she actually dared to accept the challenge. Li Hao is from the Taekwondo club. This new girl is kind of interesting. The end of the corridor led to the bathroom. I walked in and stood in front of the wash basin, looking at myself in the mirror. The scar beneath my bangs was still quite noticeable. You're Fang Nian, aren't you? I turned my head and saw 3 girls stepping out from the stall. They weren't Lily and her group but unfamiliar faces. What's the matter? The short-haired girl in the middle walked over, sizing me up from head to toe. I heard you beat Lily and her friends pretty badly. No, just chatted until you're bruised and battered. She sneered. I heard Li Hao challenged you to a fight. You actually dared to go. If you can't handle it, just beg me, we can help. Why wouldn't I dare? The 3 girls exchanged glances. The short-haired one suddenly reached out to lift my bangs. Is this injury real or fake? Don't tell me it's just for sympathy. I grabbed her wrist, not hard, but enough to keep her from moving. Let go. She struggled. I don't like being touched. I let go of her hand. Is there anything else? I need to use the restroom. They shot me a glare and left grudgingly. All day long, I was under constant scrutiny. Every class had different people coming to get to know me, asking questions that were largely the same. Where did you live before? What to eat? How did I survive? I answered each question, my tone as calm as if I were talking about someone else. The afternoon classes were boring. The history teacher was lecturing on European court history, and I stared out the window, watching students play basketball on the playground. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. It was a text from an unknown number. The herbal illustration in your notebook, the remedy for burns on the 3rd page, the proportions are incorrect. Dandelion should be 15 grams, not 10 grams. I stared at the screen for 3 seconds and replied, who is this? Don't go to the gym after school this afternoon. Li Hao and his gang have prepared pepper spray. Another text message came in. Also, Fang Yi posted a photo of you rummaging through a trash heap from when you were little on the forum. I clenched my phone tightly. The school bell rang, and students flooded out of the classroom. Fang Yi was waiting for me at the school gate. Nian Nian, Let's go home together, you go ahead first, I have something to do. What is it? She pressed, her eyes flickering. I glanced at her sideways. Is this dead green tea a reincarnation of a plastic bag? What a pretender. If it weren't for her finding Li Hao, would he have come to cause trouble for me? Personal matter. She hesitated for a moment. Then, don't stay too late. We still have the Wang family's banquet to attend tonight. I know. After Fang Yi left, I opened the student forum. The top post's title was glaring, The Glorious Past of the True Heiress. This is how she survived. The poster remained anonymous, but the details were extensive. I picked bottles at the night market at 8, moved bricks at construction sites at 10, washed dishes at a restaurant at 13. The blurry photos accompanying the post were indeed of me. The replies below had already reached several hundred. So tragic. What's with the act of being pitiful? Aren't you soaring to new heights now? No wonder you're so rustic. The fake heiress was at least raised in a proper wealthy family, but this real one. I closed the forum and headed toward the gym. The back door of the gym was slightly ajar. I pushed the door open, and the room was dark, with only the eerie green light of the emergency exit glowing faintly. Li Hao and his lackeys stood in the center of the space, along with the girls I had seen in the bathroom at noon. You actually showed up, Li Hao said, holding a small spray bottle. You've got guts. I walked in, and the door closed behind me, one-on-one, or all at once, I asked. They were stunned, probably not expecting me to be so direct. Damn, what's with the arrogance? A boy rushed up and threw a punch. I fought countless street fights and knew the patterns of these young masters' moves. The stance was strong and powerful, but full of flaws. As I sidestepped, I kicked his knee from the side. He let out a blood-curdling scream and collapsed to his knees. Attacked together, Li Hao roared. 5 men lunged forward simultaneously. 3 minutes later, the 5 men lay on the ground groaning in pain. Li Hao stood pale-faced in place, holding the spray bottle. You stay back. Pepper spray? I asked. His hand trembled. This stuff only works up close, I said, slowly approaching. Beyond a meter, it's just adding humidity to yourself. You don't. I snatched the spray bottle lightning fast and kicked him in the shin at the same time. He yelped in pain and fell to the ground, and I crouched down, pressing the spray bottle against his nose. Who sent you? No one. I pressed the nozzle, stopping just an inch from his face. Fang Yi. It's Fang Yi, he shouted with his eyes closed. She said she'd teach you a lesson, make you understand who's in charge here. Did she send the photos too? She told me to post it on the forum. She gave me the photos. I tossed the spray bottle aside and stood up. The person on the ground looked at me in terror. So, what are you going to say about today's incident? I asked. What could have happened today? These are all just bruises we got from falling accidentally. Indeed, a group of very understanding good classmates. As I walked out of the gym, the sky was already growing dark, and my phone vibrated again. Unknown number, resolved, I replied. Solved. Who are you? See you at the Wang family dinner tonight. I stared at the text message, then deleted the conversation. When I got home, Fang Yi was trying on a dress in the living room. In the end, she still didn't have the courage to wear that hideous cake-like dress. Seeing me, she avoided eye contact. Nian, you're back. Did anything happen? No. What could happen? The classmates are all as friendly as you. Her face stiffened. Well, that's good then. The Wang family's villa is in the eastern part of the city, larger and more impressive than the Fang family's. Luxury cars filled the entrance when we arrived. Guests in formal attire entered the grand hall in small groups, where the lights were bright and the air was filled with the scent of perfume and the rustle of silk. This was my first time attending such an event. Fang Yi, with her mother on her arm, greeted acquaintances with practiced ease. I trailed silently behind Fang's father like a shadow. Old Fang, is this the daughter you've just found? A plump middle-aged man walked over, sizing me up. I heard she went through a lot before being found. Fang's father forced a smile. It's all in the past. It must have been tough, the man said, patting Fang's father on the shoulder. If there's anything you need help with, don't hesitate to ask. More people approached, asking the same questions and looking at me with the same gaze. Pity, curiosity, and a touch of scrutiny. I maintained a polite smile throughout. Such occasions are like a jungle. Everyone wears a glamorous fur, but their fangs hide behind their smiles. Suddenly, the crowd stirred. Mr. Qin is here. Qin, you actually came. Doesn't he never attend such banquets? I heard it was personally invited by the Wang family patriarch. I followed the crowd's gaze. a man in his mid-20s, dressed in black, walked in through the door. He was tall with deep-set features. Standing there like a blade sheathed in its scabbard, quiet but dangerous, Mr. Wang, the patriarch of the Wang family, personally stepped forward. Mr. Qin, your esteemed presence brings radiance to our humble abode. The man slightly nodded but did not speak. His gaze swept across the hall and then came to rest on me, from across a distance of several meters, through the bustling crowd. His eyes seemed to have substance, landing on the scar on my forehead. Although it had already been covered with concealer, then, he gave me the slightest nod. My heart raced. It was him, that unfamiliar number. At that moment, Fang Yi suddenly tugged at my arm. Nian Nian, let's go over there, I'll introduce you to some friends. She led me to a group of young men and women. Lily, Xiaoya, and Yuan were all there, along with a few unfamiliar faces. This is my sister, Fang Nian. Fang Yi said with a smile. Nian, these are all my friends. If you need anything at school in the future, you can ask them for help. I heard you transferred to Shenying. A boy with blue hair raised an eyebrow. You even had an exchange with Li Hao today. The surroundings fell silent. Fang Yi, surprisedly, covered her mouth. Nian, did you get into a fight? No, I said. We were just chatting. Chatting can land someone in the infirmary. The blue-haired boy sneered. Li Hao has a dislocated wrist and bruises on his face. New student, you're quite ruthless. Some people began to glance over in this direction. Fang Yi looked heartbroken. Nian Nian, how could you do this? Dad sent you to school to study, not to cause trouble. I didn't. You still say you didn't. Fang Yi raised her voice. Li Hao told me everything. He said you instigated the fight and injured several of them. In the hall, more and more guests were turning their attention this way. It seemed Fang Yi was ready to air all the dirty laundry right here. Mrs. Fang and Mr. Fang also walked over. What's going on, Mom? Nian Nian got into a fight at school and hurt someone. Fang Yi's eyes reddened. It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of my sister, Mr. Fang's expression darkened. Nian Nian, what happened? I looked at him, then at Fang Yi, and finally at the boy with blue hair. Li Hao said I hit him. Otherwise, did he say why I hit him? The blue-haired boy was taken aback. But what I know is that he said Fang Yi told him to teach me a lesson. I said, my voice not loud but clear enough. He said Fang Yi gave him my photo and told him to post something defaming me on the forum. And he also said Fang Yi prepared the pepper spray. Fang Yi's face turned pale instantly. What are you talking about? Whether I'm talking nonsense can be verified by checking the IP address of the forum post, I said, looking at her. Or, you could ask Li Hao in the medical office. He probably hasn't left yet. Fang's mother looked at Fang Yi in shock. I didn't do it. Fang Yi's tears welled up. Nian Nian, I know you don't like me, but you can't slander me like this. I'm your sister. Enough. Fang Fu interrupted. His voice low. Let's discuss this at home. But it was already too late. The surrounding guests were whispering among themselves, their eyes darting between Fang Yi and me. I never expected the fake heiress to be so ruthless. How pitiful, just coming home and already being bullied by your sister. I heard the fake heiress is afraid the real one will take the family fortune. The murmurs were not loud but sharp enough. Fang Yi teetered on the verge of collapse. And her mother quickly steadied her. At that moment, a voice interjected. Fang Nian, I turned my head. It was that Mr. Qin. He had somehow approached without my noticing, his eyes calm and unwavering. Mr. Qin, father immediately put on a respectful expression. Do you know my daughter? Not exactly acquainted, Qin you said, his gaze falling on me. But I've seen her paintings. Everyone was stunned. Paintings, Mr. Fang looked confused. Qin Yu took out his phone from the inner pocket of his suit, opened a photo, and handed it to Mr. Fang. The screen displayed a street graffiti, painted on the wall of an abandoned factory. The colors were bold and wild. A girl crouched beside a trash can, holding half a steamed bun in her hand, her eyes gazing at the sky. The sky was depicted as a massive whirlpool. Within it were towering skyscrapers, luxury brand logos, and twisted human faces. There's a tiny signature in the lower right corner of the painting. Nian, Father Fang looked up at me, his expression complicated. Did you paint this? I didn't speak. This painting was exhibited at the youth art exhibition last month, Qin Yu said, putting away his phone. It was submitted anonymously, but the jury awarded it the gold prize. Many collectors have been trying to find out who Nian is. The hall was so quiet that one could hear the sound of breathing. Fang Yi's complexion was no longer pale, it was ashen. Qin Yu looked at me, the corners of his lips curving into a barely perceptible smile. Miss Fang, would you care to discuss art? I met his gaze. Now, I turned to Mr. and Mrs. Fang and said, Mom and Dad, if you'll excuse me for a moment. Then I followed Qin Yu, walking toward the balcony outside the banquet hall under everyone's gaze. The night breeze carried the scent of roses from the garden. Qin Yu leaned against the railing, lighting a cigarette. You're quite good at pretending, what, acting obedient. He exhaled a puff of smoke, but the wildness in your eyes can't be hidden. I remained silent. The matter with Li Hao was handled decently, he continued, but not cleanly enough. The posts on the forum are still there, the photos are still there. Fang Yi can turn the tables on you tomorrow, claiming you orchestrated the whole thing to smear her. I know. Then why did you leave a trail? I looked at him. Why is Mr. Qin helping me? He smiled, a genuine smile for the first time, with fine lines at the corners of his eyes. I wasn't helping you, I just hate watching people act. That text message, it was a coincidence, he said. I have a studio upstairs from that gym. I happened to see Fang Yi giving Li Hao pepper spray. Why tell me? Curiosity. He put out the cigarette. Curiosity about how a girl raised on the streets would survive in a wealthy family. I averted my gaze and looked at the swaying tree shadows in the garden. Of course, barely surviving, not quite, he said. You were quite ruthless just now. Fang Yi won't be able to sleep tonight. The music echoed through the hall as the banquet officially began. Through the glass doors, one could see Fang Yi forcing a smile as she conversed with the guests, her eyes occasionally drifting in this direction. She'll make another move, Qin Yu said. Next time, it'll be more discreet. More vicious, I know. Need help. I turned to look at him. What's the price? He smiled again. Smart. The price is your next painting. I want the first right of refusal. Is that all? That's it. I thought for 3 seconds. Deal. He extended his hand. Qin Yu. I shook it. Fang Nian. The last question. I said. How did you recognize me? I signed the painting with a pseudonym. Qin Yu let go of my hand and scrolled through his phone to find another photo. It was me. A side view of me eating instant noodles at the entrance of a convenience store. You're the street observer. I suddenly realized, part-time, my main job is watching the fun. The glass door opened, and Fang Fu stepped out. Nianian, it's time to cut the cake. I nodded and said to Qin Yu, see you at school tomorrow. How did you know I'm at the school? It's simple. At your age, you're unlikely to be a high school student, but since you can access the campus forum, you must be a staff member. He chuckled. Smart. Remember to reply to my texts next time. Back in the hall, everyone was looking at me differently, no longer sympathy or disdain, but curiosity, exploration, and even a hint of awe. Fang Yi stood beside the cake, gripping the knife tightly. Grandpa Wang gave a speech, welcoming everyone, and especially welcoming the 2 young ladies from the Fang family. As the applause rang out, I approached Fang Yi and whispered in a low voice, are you going to delete the forum post, or should I? Her hand trembled. And those photos, I continued, you have plenty of backups, don't you? Need me to help you delete them? She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with fear and hatred. Fang Nian, you, shu, I smiled. It's time to cut the cake, sister. The knife descended, and the cake was split in 2, just like the Fang family, which had long since been torn apart. As soon as the banquet ended, as soon as we got home, Father Fang called both Fang Yi and me into the study. The door closed, and Father Fang sat behind his desk while Mother Fang stood beside him, both with grim expressions. Is the matter in the forum post true? Father Fang asked Fang Yi. Fang Yi cried and shook her head. Dad, I really didn't do it. It's Nian Nian who's slandering me. The IP address shows it was from our home, Father Fang said, turning the laptop around. The post was sent at 10 p.m. on Saturday night. At that time, Nian Nian was in her room, I was in the study, and your mother was taking a shower. Only you were in the living room using a tablet. Fang Yi's sobs abruptly ceased. And there's Li Hao, her father continued. I called his father. He admitted it. You were the one who told him to teach Nian Nian a lesson, and you gave him the pepper spray. But he said Nian Nian didn't hit him. He got hurt because he tripped and fell. Fang Yi's mother covered her mouth, staring at her daughter in disbelief. Why? Her father's voice was weary. Nian Nian is your sister. She endured 18 years of hardship just to come home. Why? Because she took my things. Fang Yi suddenly screamed, tears streaming down her face. Mom and Dad's love, the identity of the Fang family's daughter. They're all mine. Who does she think she is? Coming back. She's just a beggar. She doesn't deserve any of it, Fang's mother cried. How can you think like this? How do I think? Fang Yi laughed hysterically. It was me who was by your side for these 18 years, me who called you mom and dad. What does Fang Nian count for? She should have died out there. Father Fang slammed the table. Enough. Fang Yi was startled, her sobs quieting as she closed her mouth. Father Fang took a deep breath and looked at me. Nian, how do you want to handle this? All eyes turned to me. Fang Yi's eyes were like venom. I remained silent for a long time, so long that the air seemed to freeze. Then I said, let's just forget it. Both Fang's father and mother were stunned. Sister is just momentarily confused. I said softly, she's afraid I'll take away your love, and I can understand that. After all, she called you mom and dad for 18 years. Fang Yi stared at me intently. However, I changed the subject. I hope this is the last time. If it happens again, I won't tolerate it. As for the forum posts, I looked at Father Fang. If you can delete them, please do. Those photos are quite ugly. Father Fang gave me a deep look and nodded. All right, then I'll go rest. I said, good night, Mom and Dad. Good night, sister. I walked out of the study and gently closed the door behind me. The corridor was dark, with only the wall lamps casting a faint light. The forum post disappeared not long after, but the discussion continued. Someone had taken screenshots, someone had recorded the screen, and now the topic had become hashtag Fang Yi's proof of framing the real heiress hashtag. Qin Yu sent a text message, well handled. By stepping back, Fang Yi is now even more on the defensive. I replied, thank you, teacher. He sent a question mark. Aren't you the one who said watching the spectacle is your main job? I typed. Then the one teaching me how to act is naturally my teacher. After a long time, he replied. The tuition is expensive, pay with my paintings, deal. I turned off my phone and looked out the window. The moon was full and bright. I have plenty of patience and time. After all, I waited 18 years on the streets for this one home. I wouldn't mind spending another 18 years turning it into my real home. A month later, the Shenying Academy welcomed its arts festival. On the surface, the Fang family seemed calm, but beneath the surface, there was turmoil. Fang Yi had at least outwardly become more obedient. She no longer openly targeted me, and even at school, she would greet me proactively. At home, she played the role of a gentle and considerate older sister, but I knew she was waiting for an opportunity, waiting for a moment that could deliver a fatal blow. And I was waiting for her moment too. The night before the art festival, Qin Yu sent a text. I'll be there tomorrow for the art festival. I replied, come to watch the fun. Come see your painting. Over the past month, I painted 4 pieces in Qin Yu's studio. When I finished the first one, he stared at the canvas for a long time before saying, there's fire in your heart, burning for 18 years. I replied, after finishing the second painting. He asked, have you ever thought about having a solo exhibition? No. By the third painting, he said, someone wants to buy your painting, offering 6 figures. Not selling. The day I finished the 4th painting. He squinted at me through the smoke. Fang Nian, do you hate them? Hate who? Everyone. Your parents who abandoned you. Fang Yi who took your place. And this world that made you suffer for 18 years. I put down my brush and gazed at the twisted colors on the canvas. I used to hate, but I don't anymore. Hatred wastes too much energy. I need that energy to survive, to live better than anyone else. He smiled. It was the most genuine smile I had ever seen from him since I knew him. On the day of the art festival, the auditorium of Street Ing Academy was packed to capacity. Fang Yi was the host of the arts festival, and her sweet, smooth voice as she announced the performances drew applause from the audience. My performance was second to last. The announcement was simple. Class 3, Grade 2, Fang Nian, live street graffiti creation. When I walked onto the stage in my paint-splattered overalls, a murmur rippled through the audience. The stage was already set up. 3 massive white canvases stood tall, and various spray paint cans were scattered across the floor. The lights dimmed, leaving only a single spotlight focused on me. The music began, not classical music, but sounds I had recorded from the streets, the hum of traffic, the chatter of people, the hawkers at night markets, the barks of stray dogs, and the faint sounds of weeping and laughter. This is the essence of human life as I understand it. Where the sounds of dogs and horses mingle with the pleasures of the flesh, I started spraying paint. red, like blood, like fire, blue, like night, like the sea, yellow, like light, like hope, hands moving, body moving, the spray paint can hissing, I don't think, I just paint, pouring out 18 years of hunger. Cold, fear, struggle, and that tiny spark of unwillingness to give up, all onto the canvas. 20 minutes later, the music stops, and I set down the last spray paint can, the lights come on, 3 paintings merged into one, on the left, a dark street, a trash can, and a huddled figure, in the center, a torn sky with a hand reaching out from the crack, on the right, blooming flowers sprouting from the crack, blooming brilliantly and wildly. The audience fell silent for 3 seconds, then thunderous applause erupted. I bowed, and the scar on my forehead was clearly visible under the lights. As I stepped off the stage, Fang Yi approached, her smile flawless. Nian Nian, your painting is truly wonderful, thank you. Oh, by the way, the last event is a charity auction, and your painting will be up for bidding. Dad said the proceeds will be donated to the Homeless Children's Foundation. What a coincidence. It's the same place you once stayed. I sensed the barb in her words. But I didn't care. Yes, what a coincidence. I hope those children won't encounter a nurse who deliberately swaps babies. Fang Yi's smile froze. The auction began. The previous items up for auction were student works, with prices ranging from several thousand to tens of thousands. When it was time for my painting, the auctioneer announced, next up is a piece titled, Flowers in the Cracks. The artist, student Fang Nian, will donate all proceeds from the auction to help homeless children. Starting bid, 10,000, 50,000. The first bidder, a middle-aged man, raised his paddle, 100,000, 150,000. The price continued to soar. Fang Yi sat in the front row, her back straight. I know she's waiting for me to make a fool of myself, because according to the procedure, the creator is supposed to give a speech at the end. She's convinced that this, wild child from the streets, will embarrass herself in front of everyone. 500,000. A voice came from the back row. Everyone turned around. It was Qin Yu. He held up the numbered paddle with a calm expression. 50,000 once, 50,000 twice, 1 million. The voice came from the doorway. A man in his 60s, dressed in a gray suit, walked in. His hair was graying, but his eyes were sharp. Gasps echoed through the hall. Many people know him. He is Lin Lao, the top collector in the country. Lin Lao walked to the front and nodded to the auctioneer. 1 million, in cash. The auctioneer's voice trembled with excitement. 1 million once, 1 million twice, 1 million 3 times, sold. Thunderous applause. I was invited to the stage. The spotlight was hot on my skin. I looked out at the hundreds of eyes staring back at me and cleared my throat. Thank you all. This painting depicts myself, as well as the thousands of children just like me. The auditorium fell silent. We grow like weeds in the cracks, by the garbage piles, in the corners where no one sees us. But we bloom too, even if our flowers are ugly, even if they bloom out of season, we bloom with all our might, because we want to live, we want to see the sun. Mr. Lin's 1 million isn't buying my painting, it's buying opportunities for these children. I bowed to Mr. Lin. Thank you, Mr. Lin stood up and nodded slightly. As I stepped off the stage, Fang Yi's expression was beyond just looking bad. The auction ended, and the crowd dispersed. Mr. Lin walked over and handed me a business card. Miss Fang, are you interested in holding a solo exhibition? Don't rush to answer, he said with a smile. Take a look at the venue first. He gave me an address, the most renowned art gallery in the city center. After Mr. Lin left, Qin Yu walked over. Congratulations. Congratulations are in order. Your investment acumen is commendable. He raised an eyebrow. 1 million for this promising stock. Not a bad deal. It's not a bad deal, but beware, a tall tree catches the wind. His gaze shifted to the other side of the hall. Someone's about to lose their cool. Fang Yi was chatting with a few girls there. He was right. That evening, the atmosphere at the Fang household was eerie. Fang's father was overjoyed, patting my shoulder and saying, Nian Nian, Dad is so proud of you. Mrs. Fang also smiled, but her smile was a bit forced. Yes, I didn't expect Nian Nian to be so talented. Fang Yi remained silent throughout. After dinner, I returned to my room and received a text message from an unknown number. Want to know why your birth parents abandoned you? Meet me at the abandoned factory south of the city tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Come alone. I stared at the text message and smiled. Finally, it's here. The next day was Saturday, and I told my family I had a meet-up with classmates before heading out. The abandoned factory in the southern part of the city was quite far from downtown. I transferred buses twice and walked for 20 minutes before arriving. The factory had been abandoned for a long time, and it was pitch dark inside. I walked in. Fang Yi emerged from the shadows. She was dressed in sportswear, looking completely different from usual. 3 men followed her, all burly but with malicious eyes. "Oh, sister," I feigned surprise and covered my mouth. "What are you doing here? Stop pretending." The text message was from me. "I knew you'd come. You're too desperate to know why you were abandoned, aren't you? So you know." "Of course I know." She slowly approached. "Because you're a jinx. The day you were born, the Fang family company almost went bankrupt, and Mom almost died from a massive hemorrhage. The fortune teller said you're a curse to your parents and the family's fortune, which is why Mom and Dad sent you away. No, they abandoned you." I looked at her without speaking. "I never expected you to be so resilient. To not die out there and come back here," she said with venom in her eyes. "As soon as you returned, everything in the house turned chaotic. Mom and Dad fight, I get scolded, and even my reputation, the thing I care about most, is ruined. Fang Yan, you're a jinx. So what? What did you call me here for today? Make you disappear?" Fang Yi took a step back and gave a signal to the 3 men. "Don't worry, we won't take your life. Just send you to a very distant place, where you'll never be able to return." The 3 men closed in. I sighed. "Fang Yi, you've made a mistake." "What? You shouldn't have come in person." I pulled out my phone from my pocket. The screen lit up showing it was recording. "And you shouldn't have said so much." Fang Yi's face turned pale. "You're recording, and there's video too." I raised my other hand, holding a miniature camera. "Qin Yu lent it to me. Said it's high-tech with very clear picture quality." "Grab her. Take the stuff," Fang Yi screamed. 3 men lunged forward. I moved. I sidestepped the first man and simultaneously kicked him in the back of the knee. The moment he knelt down, I grabbed his hair and slammed his head into the iron pillar beside us. The second man grabbed me from behind, and I tilted my head back, smashing it directly into his nose. Hearing the clear sound of bone breaking, he screamed and let go, and I turned to elbow him in the throat. The third man pulled out a knife. The blade glinted coldly under the dim light. "Be careful," a voice called from the doorway. It was Qin Yu. He rushed in but was too far away. The knife came stabbing towards me. Time slowed down. I saw the trajectory of the blade, the triumphant smile on Fang Yi's face, and the look of horror on Qin Yu's face. Then I remembered a winter many years ago, when someone under a bridge had also held a knife, trying to take the only half loaf of bread I had. I was 8 years old then, and I was starving to the point where I thought death would be a relief. But in the end, I snatched the knife and plunged it into that man's stomach. From that day on, I knew, to survive, you have to be more ruthless than the villains. The knife draws near. I raise my hand, not to block but to meet it head-on, letting the blade pierce through my palm and then clenching my fist around it. The man froze, caught off guard by my action. Taking advantage of his momentary shock, I swiftly drew the pepper spray from my waist and sprayed it directly into his eyes. He screamed in agony, clutching his face. I snatched the knife from him and pressed it against his throat. "Don't move." The world fell silent. Qin Yu rushed to my side, his voice trembling as he looked at my palm gushing with blood. "Are you crazy? It works, doesn't it?" I let go of the knife, and the man collapsed to the ground. I turned to Fang Yi. "What else do you have up your sleeve?" Her lips trembled, unable to form words. "If you don't have anything else, it's my turn now." I took a file envelope out of my backpack and tossed it at her feet. "Open it and take a look." Fang Yi trembled as she picked it up and opened it. Inside were photos, reports, and a paternity test. The photo showed a middle-aged woman in a nurse's uniform, her smile kind and gentle. She was the nurse who had delivered me. The report was a bank statement, showing that 18 years ago, the nurse's account had suddenly received a large sum of money. The paternity test revealed that this woman was Fang Yi's biological mother. Fang Yi's hands began to tremble. "Your mother deliberately switched us so that you could live a life of wealth, for the past 18 years. She's been using that money to run a small business and has lived quite well. Unfortunately, while you've enjoyed a good life, she didn't treat me kindly. Instead, she threw me out onto the streets." "No, it's not possible." Fang Yi shook her head. "You're lying to me, lying to you. Do you even deserve that? At the last moment, you're trying to concoct a story about the Fang family deliberately abandoning me." "Fang Yi, You and your human trafficker of a mother are just as wicked and ruthless. How many years do you think she'll get for child trafficking, identity forgery, and fraud, and how many years will you get for intentional kidnapping and murder? Fang Yi collapsed to the ground. Qin Yu told me he had already called the police before coming. I nodded and walked over to Fang Yi, lifting her face with my uninjured hand. Fang Yi, you've lost. You know what? I don't actually hate you. You were treated like a tool by your mother, forced into a life that wasn't yours. But you made a mistake by taking advantage of everything and still wanting to drive me to the brink. She looked at me with empty eyes. Soon the police arrived and took Fang Yi and the 3 men away. In the ambulance, the doctor bandaged my palm. Qin Yu sat beside me, not speaking the entire time. Feeling sorry, I asked. Yes, I feel sorry for your hand. What will you do about painting in the future? I can paint with my left hand. He looked at me and suddenly asked, did you really file a report? Where did you get those evidences? I investigated it myself. For the past month, I've been sleeping only 4 hours a day. I go to school during the day, research at night, and stake out the west side of the city on weekends. I've learned the streets of Qinyu for 18 years, and tracking and survival are what I do best. He remained silent for a long time before saying, Fang Nian, you're a monster. Thank you for the compliment. The car arrived at the hospital, where Fang's parents were already waiting at the entrance. They received a call from the police and learned the whole truth. When Madame Fang saw my hand wrapped in gauze, she nearly fainted from crying. Father Fang's eyes were red-rimmed as he tightly held my hand, unable to speak. Dad, Mom, it's all over. Fang Yi was formally arrested, and her mother was also apprehended. The case made headlines, shaking the entire city. Fang Yi's room was quickly cleared out. Wang Ma said that Madame Fang had cried for several days before finally deciding to donate all of Fang Yi's belongings. Out of sight, out of mind. Auntie Wang sighed. The madam is pitiful. She raised her for 18 years, only to find out she's the daughter of her enemy. Didn't they know when they found me? Originally, we thought you were just stolen. Never did we expect you were swapped. And finding you was only possible through big data matching. Even they themselves couldn't believe Fang Yi wasn't their biological child. At dinner, Fang Fu announced something. He mentioned holding a formal ceremony for my official return. As the previous reunion banquet didn't count, I looked at them and shook my head. No need, they froze. I'm already 18, and I want to move out. The bowl in Fang's mother's hand fell to the ground, shattering into pieces. Nianian, you won't forgive us. Tears streamed down her face. We know we were wrong. We owe you so much over these 18 years. Please, give us a chance to make it up to you. It's not about forgiveness, I interrupted her. It's about starting over. I looked at them. These two, my biological parents, were strangers yet familiar. In these 18 years, I've learned one thing. People can only rely on themselves. I am grateful for the love and home you've given me, but I also need space and time to process all of this. Where will you move to? Fang Fu's voice was hoarse. Qin Yu helped me find an apartment. It's close to the school and also close to his studio. I'll continue my studies and painting. I'll come back to visit on weekends. Fang Mu wanted to say something more, but Fang Fu stopped her by placing a hand on hers. All right, we respect your decision. Nian Nian, you are far stronger than we ever imagined. Dad is proud of you. The next day, I moved into my new apartment. Qin Yu asked me, truly not regretting it. Regretting what? Abandoning the identity of a wealthy heiress to live in such a small apartment. I walked to the window and looked down at the bustling street below. Qin Yu, look at those people down there, the pancake vendor auntie, the delivery guy, the couple holding hands, the old man walking his dog. They're all living with all their might, in the rich and powerful family. I lived for 2 months like a guest, but here I feel like a human being, and no matter how my relationships with them turn out, I'm still the only heir of the Fang family. What is there to regret about that? He gave me a thumbs up. All right, philosopher. The city outside the window was brightly lit. This city once left me starving and freezing, once left me homeless, but now I have a window here, a light, a place I can call home. There is also someone willing to accompany me for meals and conversation. That's enough. Wild grass never needs a garden, just an inch of soil and a bit of light, and it can grow wildly, blooming its own flowers. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.